Today is October 23rd. This is Jeff Scott. I'm again retaping all the lectures from our Joomla 3 Beginner's Guide by Eric Tigler. I'm through the first 4 chapters, a little bit farther behind as normal, as opposed to where I usually am, but I hope to catch up a little bit this weekend. We'll see. But I'm going to go over chapter 5 right now. In the last chapter, we created our site in an hour. It still is a work in progress, and there's still some things I have to change on it. I haven't really touched it much since the last lecture. But in this chapter, we'll start working a little bit on content. So, this chapter really talks a lot about sitemaps. So as you can see in our objectives here, there are threefold down towards the bottom of page 113. Translate a basic sitemap to a workable blueprint for a Joomla-based site. Design a clear, scalable framework for your content, grouping together content accordingly with categories and subcategories. Finally, use uncategorized pages if we wanted to build a site that didn't have much content, maybe 2, 3, 4, maybe even up to 5 pages. Alright, so the Corba site, as it says, was a great little site, but the client has come back with a bunch of changes that they want, and we're going to start doing them. The first thing the author talks about here with grouping content on page 114 is the fact that sometimes when you are sitting there thinking about how to set your site up, doing something like a sitemap, and I'm looking at it that there's 4 sitemaps that are shown here, one on page 114, one on page 115, and 2 on page 116. So it's a 4-pronged process. This is what the site currently looks like. In other words, we've got our home, and under our home we've got news, art lectures, club meetings, mission, and contact us. And you notice that under contact us and mission there's nothing else. And there are articles under news, art lectures, and club meetings. So if I go onto the site, and again you see there's home, mission, news, art lectures, and meetings. Alright, pretty much the same stuff that we just talked about. There's not the contact, but I guess the contact is up here. But the point is, when we do contact, it brings up just the contact form as you saw yesterday. Alright, when we come up here, the home page has got our home page content. Our mission statement is a page into and of itself also. News has got articles on it. Alright. Art lectures has got articles on it. And club meetings has got articles on it. Alright, again, I've got to move some stuff around. I'm not really that concerned with that right now. Alright. Okay, it says the sitemaps come, this is very basic. News, art lectures, and club meetings, again, those are categories that hold articles. Mission and contact us are just basic web pages. And it says the structure was good enough to start with, but it won't do if Corba wants to expand their site, which is what they want to start doing now. So the author says here on the top of page 115, let's make some room for growth. We'll have a few pages to introduce founding members of Corba, some facts on bad art, little-known facts, etc., reviews, bad art galleries, and club activities. So if you look, here, originally we had news, art lectures, club meetings, news, art lectures, club meetings. Then we had the mission and the contact us, which were pages by themselves. Now we're going to have an about Corba, and one of the things that will be in the about Corba, one of the things that will be in there is our mission statement, and still our contact us page. But that's not even enough. Up to now, as mentioned, our categories have been 1 level deep. But now we want to take and we want to add 2 new categories, facts and reviews, that all belong under a brand new category called bad art. So we're going to create those, and eventually, I think we can put just about all of it up here. Oops. Or maybe not. But eventually we want to take that art lectures and group meetings and put them into an activities category. So you can kind of look at it this way. When we first started, this is level 0, that's level 1, and then we had articles. Then we move up to level 0, level 1, level 2, and then we have articles. Then eventually level 0, level 1, level 2, and again we have articles. Alright, so that's what we're moving towards. The author mentions here on page 117 He says, of course, it's up to you to decide how you want to group content. And it's not only up to you, but if you're creating the site for someone, it's also up to the person you're creating the site for to figure out how they want things set up. They give you some tips on the bottom of page 117, and the author mentions here it can be useful to choose categories based on why people are coming to the site to begin with, which makes sense. Common choices: products, catalog, company portfolio, about us, jobs, news, and download. Now, if you look at these, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different main categories. But the author says you never should have more than 5 to 7 of these, because once you have more than that, and this gets, look at right now, it's at level, there are 5 levels here. Once you get to more than that, it gets kind of hard for the human mind to wrap its head around it, for lack of better words. So this is what we want to create. And on 118, the author says, the following are the content types that we're going to have. We'll have the home page, then we'll have our categories, then we'll have either subcategories under those categories. Again, bad art will have facts and reviews, club activities will have art, lectures, and meetings. News and Corba, will not have any categories underneath them. And facts and reviews will not, and art, lectures, and club meetings will not. And that's what the author mentions here. And again, the Contact Us page is sort of a page unto and of itself. What they will talk about later on in the chapter, right at the end of the chapter, and it's mentioned up here, they say that uncategorized articles are handy if you have a small site that has just a few pages. Rather than setting up any categories, you might just want to have an uncategorized site with 4 or 5 pages in it. Another way, or another reason that uncategorized articles are good is if you're not sure exactly what category an article belongs in. Okay, so you can place it in there later. All right, so the author is going to go through a 3-pronged process here, and these will be the next 3 chapters. In this chapter, we're going through step 1. Okay, we're going to organize by creating our content containers. Okay. In the next chapter, in chapter 6, we're going to basically start adding our content to those. And then in chapter 7, we're going to basically set up all the menuing structure, etc. All right. And again, we're going to be refining it in every single chapter. Okay. So this chapter will start to get into the steps 1 and 2. Step 3 will be in chapter 7. Step 4 will be in chapter 8. Okay? All right. So I'm on page 120. Time for action, creating a category and subcategories. So as always, I'm going to now leave here, just read through the book and show you by going over to the site exactly what I'll be doing here. So the author says first, let me make sure, yep, I'm back on the main system page. We want to navigate to Content, Category Manager, and then add new category. All right. It says fill out the title field. In this example, we want to put in about Corba. I don't think I've done this yet, but we're going to find out. It says leave the other values unchanged. Click on Save and Close. And when you do, it says category successfully changed. You're taken to the Category Manager list right here. You notice we now have the About Corba. All right. According to our sitemap, the next few categories we need are nested. 1 main category, bad art, containing 2 subcategories, facts and reviews. Okay, to add them into the Category Manager screen, we'll click New. All right. Here we want to put bad art in the title field. And we're told to click on Save and New because there's yet one more that we're going to want to create. All right. It tells us our category was successfully saved. And here, enter the details in the next category we want to create. In the title field, add facts. Oops. All right. In the details section on the right-hand side, locate the parent drop-down and select bad art. Click on Save and New again. And we're going to do pretty much the same thing. All right, so here we want to click on Reviews. And again, we want to make sure that the parent is set to bad art. And click on Save and Close. And now we're done with the first thing we wanted to do. So if we go back again and we look, all right, now hopefully you notice this. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 categories here, including our uncategorized. But you notice the slash after bad art, which means, and the slash that before facts and the slash before reviews, this is kind of a tiered or hierarchical structure telling us that facts and reviews are both children of bad art. Okay? So switching back to our book and turning up to page 122, the author says, what just happened? You added a new About Corba category and a category on bad art with 2 subcategories. The About Corba category will contain just a few articles, such as the mission statement. As bad art is much more important, it will contain a few subcategories, so we'll work on that. The author mentions that it is possible to have several levels, and he shows an example here on page 122, which I'm not going to go over, but I will just mention, be really leery of creating too many categories, because you want to make it easy for the person to iterate around your site. If you have too many categories, you might make that an improbability. All right, so they talk about rearranging the existing categories starting on the bottom of 122 and going on to page 123, and we're going to do that in just a minute. So the author says, let's return to the Corba sitemap. The category tree is nearly finished. One thing left to do is to create 2 separate categories we already created in the reviews in the previous chapter, art lectures and club meetings. We need to make those new categories subcategories of the new activities. Luckily in Joomla, it's easy to do that. So this is what we're going to do. So right now, if we look at what we have here, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 categories in our category manager. All right. What we want are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 categories. And right now, we've got everything we need in here except we don't have an activities category. And right now, art lectures and club meetings stand into and of themselves. And we want to create a new activities category and make art lectures and club meetings children of that. So that's what we're going to do next. All right, so again, I'm just following the steps, and as the author says, we want to come in here, new category. We want to call this activities. All right, save and close. Okay, there's our new activities, and what we want to add are art lectures and club meetings. We want those to go under activities. So let's go to art lectures first. All right, and its parent will now be activities. Save and close. And you notice how it's moved underneath there. And club meetings, also we want to take that and we want to change its parent to activities. All right, save and close. So now what we should have in here, uncategorized news, about Corba, bad art, facts and reviews, activities, etc. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So if you look at what we have right there and you compare that, so uncategorized news and about Corba, all right, bad art, facts and reviews, activities, art lectures and club meetings. As far as I can tell right now, ours looks exactly the way that it's supposed to look. So as mentioned in the book here, on the bottom of the page, you're done. The sitemap we've outlined on paper has now been turned into a Joomla category tree with 4 main categories. Again, those categories being news, about Corba, bad art, and activities. 2 of those categories, about Corba and activities, have subcategories. About Corba has, bad art and activities. Bad art has facts and reviews. Activities has art lectures and club meetings. All right, so the next thing that we're going to do here in just a minute is we're going to start adding content. So the author mentions here on the top of page 124, by adding new categories, we've made room for growth. We'll leave the categories for now empty. We're going to keep adding to them as we go on. All right, we can go in and add dummy content. I just don't have the time to do that right now. So, displaying main categories and subcategories on our site. Categories, again, as mentioned, are content containers that tell Joomla how to group things on the back end so they can be seen on the front end, or not seen depending on how you want to set them up. All right, so it says let's go into creating the menu links that point to the categories in some detail. How do you go about creating the menu link to display the contents of the new activities category and its subcategories? So that's what we're going to do. I'm on the bottom of page 124. I'm going to go over right now 124, 125, and 126. We're going to do that right now. So we're told here, I'm going to go back to my main page on the admin page, and I'm on the bottom of page 124. The author says navigate to menus, main menus, and click on new. Menus, main menu, and click on new. All right. In the menu item type, right here, select articles, category, blog. We've done this before. In the choose a category drop-down list, we are to select activities, and we're to enter a menu title, which is also going to be activities. All right, and we're told then to save and close. And it says now in our menus we should see an activities menu, and you can see we do. So as you can see in the following screenshot, home, mission statement, news, art lectures, club meetings, and activities. Looks exactly here the way that it looks in our book on page 125. So that screenshot that you see there on 125 is the exact same thing we see right here. They call theirs mission, and mine, I guess theirs is mission statement also. Good. All right. So as it says, as you can see in the following screenshot, activities now shows up as the last menu item. The order presented is the same order that they'll be on the main menu. If you'd like to move the activities up, just click on the 3 blocks. We're going to leave it unchanged. So we could click on here, and if we did that, we could do some ordering, but the author says, let's just leave it the way it is. Works for me. All right, so we're told now to view the site. And it says if we view the site and we click on the new activities link that's in here, all right, we're taken right here. And it says rather uninviting, isn't it? As you can see, a menu top link category that holds other categories displays differently because the top level activities link is empty. All it displays are 2 links to the subcategories. If we were to add an article, it would change. I'm not going to do that right now. I don't think they tell us to do that yet. But what the author mentions is that's the way that it should look right now. And as you can see, that's the way ours does look. All right. And if we added an article, it would look like this, and the stuff would still be pushed off at the bottom. But again, they do not tell us to do that right now, so I'm not going to do that right now. All right? Okay. So, up to page 126. As you can see, the activities link now points to a page containing 2 intro track texts from the main category. All right? And at the bottom of the page, there's links to the 2 subcategories. Again, they didn't tell us to do that and add an article. We can do that later or at another time. I'm not concerned about that right now. We could just go in and you know, if we really want to do that, I guess I can. Okay, that's fine. So I can come in here, go back to here, okay, go over to my content, article manager, okay, I want a new article, and I can say here, bad art exhibition coming up. Alright, and we can go over to lipsum.com. I can again, as I have been doing, grab about 3 paragraphs. Grab those 3 paragraphs. Copy. Okay. Put them in here. They don't even show in the book. They don't even show any graphics here, so I'll put a read more link in, and what I'll say here is the category that I want this in should be under activities. Alright, and I think I did it right, but we're going to find out since save and close. Alright, let's go back and look at our site again. Let's refresh, and there's our bad art exhibit with our 2 categories underneath it. Okay? Alright. So, moves us up to page 127 as we're perusing our way along in the book here. And on page 127, the author says here at the top of the page, as you can see, the activities link now points to a page containing intro text from the main category, etc., etc. I'm not going to say any more than that. Alright, When categories contain subcategories, the default setup of the category block requires visitors to click through links, but it is also possible to get the articles from all subcategories to show on the activity page. Let's have a peek at some of the possibilities. Now, in later chapters, we'll do some refinements on this. So, as mentioned here, to change the layout of the category blog page, go to the menu manager screen again and edit the activities menu by clicking on the title. Click the advanced options tab to access the blog layout options and include the subcategories, change it to all. Alright, so hold on just a second. I'm going to go back to the site and do that. So again, I'm just following the steps as shown in the book. So it says go to the menu manager screen again. So menus, menu manager. Alright, edit the activities menu by clicking on the title of it. Okay, so we want to go to menu items rather. Go over to activities. We'll click on here. Alright, and as it says, click the advanced options tab. And this is one of those. I remember there was no advanced option tab, but we want to access the blog layout options. There's blog layout. Alright, and under the, maybe that's not it. Let's try this. Leading articles 1. Intro articles 1. Columns will be 3. Let's make that 3 also. Okay. Alright. Do that. Go over to options. I want to find the blog layout options. And I know it's in here. I know we went through this in class. I just didn't do a good enough job myself of taking notes or figuring out where the hey I am. Details. Subcategories, that must be it there. We want to set that to all. Alright, now I changed this. Hopefully I made it better, but otherwise I'm going to have to come back in here and change it back again. So let's look at the site and let's go over. See, I made some changes. I don't know if I made it better or worse, but let's go to activities. Says when the user clicks on the activities link in the front end, a page will be displayed showing article intro text from the main category activities and both subcategories, which mine did not do. Alright, so there's activities, bad art exhibit. Well, I guess they are in here. Again, I have to fix all that stuff. So you'll note that making one small change makes quite a difference. You'll learn about other ways of displaying category contents in Chapter 7. Alright, let's jump back to the book. Refining your site structure. It says if you followed along, you've got a rather messy menu containing separate links to both activities and to its subcategories, club meetings and art lectures. Let's see if that's true. There's activities, and there's art lectures, and club meetings. So we'll fix that, they're saying, in a later chapter, which is fine. Alright, refining your site structure on page 129. It says, as a fact of life, that you probably won't get your site structure right the first time you do it. Is that a bad thing? No, because it's easy to move stuff around in Joomla. So they want us to go in here, and as it says, the main activities category contains a couple of articles. You may want to move to the news category. Let's clean up the activities meetings category and move anything topical into the news category. So I'm now going to go through the steps on 129 and 130. Alright, we'll do that in just a sec. Let's go back to the site. And we'll go back in here to our administration page. So navigate over to Content Article Manager. From the list of items you want to move, all right, here they're selecting Hideous Art Owners Meeting, right there. All right, so I'm going to click on that to highlight it. And we're told to click the batch button that's up here. And then we're told where do we want to put this. All right, so select category to move to, and we want to move it over to news, and we want to do a move. All right, so I'm going to tell it to process. We should get a message back that says batch process completed successfully. It does. All right, it should now show that Hideous Art is now part of the, all right, if we go over and take a look at it, it should be now part of the where is it? Hideous Art Owners Meetings. Now it's part of the news category. Okay, so it appears to have worked just fine. So, as mentioned on the bottom here of page 130, we just did this, you understood the real-life challenge of content management. Not only are you able to create a sound content structure for your website, but you know how to improve it. You can move any amount of existing content from another category. And hopefully you also noticed on there, not only could you move things, you could copy things. So if there was a reason for an article to be in multiple categories, instead of choosing move there, we could have also chosen copy. That might seem a little bit superfluous to go and do something like that, but there may be a reason indeed for doing it. All right. All right, have a go hero, moving entire categories. And this is actually the last activity that we have in this particular chapter. All right, so we're going to go through it right now. So as the author says here on the top of page 131, sometimes you might want to move an entire subcategory and all of its contents to another main category. It's not much different from moving articles. Imagine you'd like to move the reviews category from bad art to another category. All right, in the category manager screen, select the category to be moved, click the batch button, all right, and tell it to move. Click the process, and it should come back and tell you that it, again, worked. All right, renaming categories. Again, this is the last thing we have to do in here on pages 131 and 132, and then we'll talk through the rest of the stuff from the chapter here, and we'll put this chapter to rest, so to speak. So, as you've just seen, Joomla allows you to easily rearrange your structure. You can also rename categories that already contain articles without losing content. So let's go through these 4 steps, please, on 131 and 132. Get back to our main system page here, and we're told to navigate to Content, Category Manager, and we're told to click on the title of the Activities section, because what our boss has told us is activities is actually too generic a term. They want this to change to Corba activities, so we've done that. We want to make sure that the alias field that's here, we just as soon leave it blank because it'll be auto-filled. As it says, it'll be auto-generated for us from the title. All right, click on Close, Save and Close, here. Okay, and now when we go back and look at it, again, what we've done is we've renamed the activity. We renamed the category name. All right, now if we wanted to do this here also, and I'm surprised, let's see if there's the category, Corba activities. Okay? All right. So what just happened? Again, 5 minutes or so, and we'll put this chapter to rest. By changing a category name, all of the internal references to the name are updated automatically. All articles were renamed to affect the change. In the article manager, for example, all articles that belong to the activities category are now members of the Corba activity category. Nothing was lost, all right, and if that's what your user wanted, then that's what we did. If we want to change the menu links, we have to navigate over to the main menu and change them. So again, just so you see that, if we wanted to do that, we could have also come over here to our menus, menu manager, okay, and under our menu items, over here where we've got activities, we could have clicked on the title here, changed the title here from activities to Corba activities. Again, I would recommend removing the auto, because it's auto-generated. tell it to save and close, and now when we go back to our page, notice its activities until we refresh. And it's now core activities. Okay. All right. So let's finish up the chapter here. So changing category settings on the bottom of 132. You've already created a good deal of categories. You may now want to go through all of the category options that are available in the category manager, edit an articles category, add a new articles category screen. So in the category manager, okay, I believe that's what they're talking about in here. The screen is organized into 5 main sections. Now notice what they say here: category details, publishing options, and there was something wrong. I believe what we wanted to do was we wanted to click on edit here. Yeah, we have to choose something to edit. So let's say we wanted to edit the mission statement. All right, so let's click on edit. So this is what the author is talking about here, and says that there is a category details, which I don't see. There is a publishing option, which is right there. There's an options, which is right there. There's a metadata options, which has been moved, and a category permissions, which is right there. So what we have is content, publishing, image link, options, configure edit screen, and permissions. Different again from what's in the book on the bottom of page 132. But we'll look at each one of those to try to see the correlation between what's in there and what used to be and what is now. All right. So if we go under content, that's just that. Okay, so there's the content of our mission statement. We could come back in here. We could, if we wanted to, we could make that a title. We could do all sorts of stuff. We could add an image. You know all this stuff because we've talked about it before. Under the publishing, all right, we told it when to begin publishing it, when it was created, etc. We can set up an alias. We can set up for this page, we can set up a meta description, meta keywords, etc. if we want to do that. All right, under the images and links, again, if we wanted to add an image, we'd be able to add it right here for a mission statement. Under options, notice show title. All this that's in here right now are all of the defaults, which is use global for everything. All right. As we move along, we'll go and reset some of these, turn some of these on or off as appropriate. Configure edit screen, same kind of thing. And permissions. Okay. That pretty much walks us through what's in your book on 133, 134, 135, and the top of 136. Again, I don't think it really pays to go through the stuff that's shown there in the book just because the stuff that we have has changed. All right, but if you want, more, you can take a look at what's there. All right. Finally, the last thing on the last few pages of the chapter, building a site without categories. The author imagines here that you are to create a site, a simple site for a yoga instructor. And what you'll have there is this will be the entire site. It'll probably, the only thing that will probably ever change will be the class schedules and possibly the contact information. Well, maybe the about me as time goes on. Okay? But the idea is you'll have these 4 categories. So rather than basically setting them up as 4 different categories, you just would make these 4 different pages. So you'd have a main page and 4 pages under it. Okay? Here's another example on 137. So what the author is saying is let the content drive what you're doing. If there's not a need to go hog wild and really do a lot of different stuff in here with the publishing and with setting up different categories, then don't do it. All right. So how do you go about building a small site on 138, 139, and 140? As the author mentions, you just skip a few steps. There's no need to create categories. So you create the uncategorized content pages as you need them, and then you add the appropriate menu links. So it says an example is as follows: a 3-page site based on a clean Joomla install without any sample data you could create a site like this in just a couple minutes. All right. So in the example, we've created 4 uncategorized articles, just articles 1, 2, 3, and 4. You see the category on all of them is uncategorized. For each of these articles, we've added a menu link. So that's what you're going to have then. And you could set it up so you've got 1 main article and break the rest up into 3. Okay? That's pretty much it for the chapter. So this is what the user would see. And that's it. So the next time I come back and speak to you, it'll be talking about Chapter 6, creating killer content. My hope, again, this is a hope, but we'll see if it happens or not. I probably shouldn't say this on a tape, but my hope is to possibly come in here on Saturday morning and do the lectures for Chapters 6, 7, and 8. If I can do that, that means I would do 9 on Monday of next week, 10 on Tuesday, 11 on Wednesday, and 12 on Thursday, which means I would finish it on Thursday. And that's good because that's when I asked you to have your site, your copy of the Corbis site finished. All right? If I don't, that means I'll do 6 on Monday, 7 Tuesday, 8 Wednesday, 9 Thursday, so I'd be behind. So I'd be a week behind. But I'd rather not do that if at all possible. We'll see how it goes. Talk to you later.